Single dad janitor spars with black belt for fun. The incredible twist revealed left everyone. As Jake laced up his worn-out martial arts belt, he felt the weight of another long day looming overhead. The local high school was more than just a workplace. It was a reminder of who he was, a janitor, a single dad, endlessly striving to make ends meet for his spirited daughter Lily. He wiped the sweat from his brow, exhaustively thinking about bills and the judgmental stares from parents who never understood the man behind the mop. Beyond the dojo's walls, the world was cacophonous with prejudices, but each punch and kick released a little of the burden, if only temporarily. Jake watched as Sam, the new black belt instructor, commanded the room with effortless charisma. Each move exuded an energy that made everyone want to push themselves harder. Sparring with him was thrilling. Laughter punctuated their sessions as they traded playful jabs. But beneath the surface of friendly banter, Jake battled a storm brewing within. Sam was good, too good, and while the first few moments allowed Jake to escape, now that thrill masked unease. Who was this man prowling around his life, charming everyone with those effortless smiles? And why did he feel an unsettling connection to Jake's late father? In the dojo, Sam's presence grew harder to ignore. He challenged Jake directly, pushing him into moments of physical exhaustion that sparked undeniable discomfort, turning trivial sparring into a test of limits. But that night, his own pain crystallized into something sharper. As they traded blows, Sam let slip tales of a legacy, a man praised in the community, full of integrity and growth. Jake hesitated, uncertain. This man shared a name he viewed with reverence and suspicion alike. Could Sam be an ally, a connection to his father's admirable past, or was he a threat that could unravel the small respect Jake had gained? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension melted and twisted as Jake found whispers in the corners of the dojo, a history tainted by shadows, where his father's greatness veiled unfair struggles endured by families like his. A sense of betrayal crept in, heartstring by heartstring. Sam's friendly demeanor felt more like an intrusion. He wore the truth like armor, and Jake was left to guard against a legacy he barely understood. Each punch that collided with air resonated with Jake as if striking against the chains that shackled him. On an unassuming evening, with the sun retreating and casting an orange hue across the mats, Jake decided it was time for confrontation. There was a fire simmering inside him, overwhelming and undeniable. He approached Sam, uncertain yet resolute, questions bubbling beneath the surface. Could he trust this charismatic black belt instructor? Was he an unauthorized keeper of a legacy that overshadowed Jake's very existence? Just when he felt he might uncover the truth, Sam dropped a belt with faded initials, a haunting reminder of what he had fought to preserve. The looming uncertainty now bore down on him, swirling into chaos, and Jake found himself ensnared within the grasp of conflicting loyalties, grappling with a choice that could alter everything. As tension filled the dojo, Jake stood face to face with Sam, his heart racing, both from adrenaline and apprehension. The world around him faded, the sound of chatter and laughter from other students dimming into a muffled hum, as if the universe had blurred to focus solely on this confrontation. The belt lay between them, an artifact of legacy, each frayed edge whispering tales of heroism and heartache. What did it say about him? What weight did it carry? "Why do you have that?" Jake's voice broke the silence, his words sharp but trembling. He couldn't let his uncertainty show. His daughter had learned to stand tall in the face of adversity. He swallowed hard, channeling her strength. Sam hesitated, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his confident facade. "It belonged to your father, Jake," he began, his tone steady, yet laced with an undertone of something deeper. Sorrow, perhaps? He was a brilliant fighter and an even better man. Everyone looked up to him, but it came with extraordinary expectations. Jake shifted uncomfortably. The conversation swirled around the painful realities he had been grappling with for years, the weight of legacy that suffocated him, the looming shadow of a father he desperately wanted to emulate while fearing he'd always fall short. "What do you know about my father?" he pressed, filled with an anger that trembled just beneath the surface like a tightly wound spring. "You come in here telling stories, pushing me to my limits, just to play some twisted game?" Sam stepped forward, and for a moment, Jake thought he saw compassion replace challenge in those piercing eyes. "This isn't a game. It's about growth, Jake, just like your father taught me. No one can achieve greatness without facing their fears." The echo of Sam's words resonated deep within Jake. Beneath the swirling doubts was a flicker of realization. Perhaps this confrontation was not merely about Sam or the legacy of a father he couldn't escape, but rather about himself, his own growth, rhythm, and acknowledgement of what it meant to truly fight. Jake's fists clenched at his sides. He had always been cautious, hiding behind the janitor's uniform, reducing his aspirations to mere dreams guarded in the dark corners of his mind. Sam was right. It was time to unshackle those dreams, to give himself permission to aspire, to redefine who he was outside the shadow cast by his father's name. "Then let's see what I'm capable of, Sam. No more easy rounds, no more holding back," he declared, feeling an empowered resolve surge through his being. The fight sparked anew, but this time it wasn't merely about one-upmanship. It was a battle against the limitations Jake had imposed on himself. Their kicks and punches, initially trivial, transformed into a dance of mutual respect and revelation. Each jab forcing him to confront not only his physical capabilities, but the fears he had kept buried for so long. With each move, Jake felt a shift within, a desperate longing for more than survival. The martial arts shifted from simple reprieve to a potent crucible of self-discovery. As he fought against Sam, shadows of doubt began to fade, unveiling layers of strength previously hidden beneath years of internal strife and resignation. Just as they paused, exhausted and panting, a realization struck Jake. He had spent too long questioning his worth, too long afraid to claim any part of the legacy before him. "Things will change," he murmured, the promise echoing, not just in the dojo, but within himself. The next challenge loomed ahead, ignited by new purpose. Would Jake embrace this newfound fight as a means to transcend his burdens and face the demons of his past? As he locked eyes with Sam, ready to adapt to this shift in direction, he felt determination rise. Something monumental was on the horizon, an understanding that he wouldn't just learn from his father's legacy, but carve his own path in the process. The door of possibility swung open, leading Jake to an even fiercer realization waiting just outside the dojo. Could he take this fight beyond the mat, into his life as a father, an individual forging a new identity? Jake leaned back against the cool wooden wall of the dojo, fatigue mingling with exhilaration. The air filled with the scent of sweat and determination, setting a stage that felt sacred, intimate even. He replayed the exchange with Sam in his mind, every word a striking reminder that the battle wasn't just physical. It was a confrontation with himself, an unveiling of layers he had kept hidden for far too long. His heart still thrummed from the fight, but now it echoed a new rhythm, one of promise instead of trepidation. He had tasted the edge of his potential, felt the fire within him reignite. This wasn't merely a matter of winning against Sam or any physical opponent. It was about fighting against the reservations that had long held him captive. But Jake's thoughts spiraled back to his daughter, Catherine. He envisioned her face, bright and hopeful, her laughter illuminating the shadows of his doubt. He had always shielded her from his struggles, wrapped her in a cocoon woven from the threads of self-sacrifice. Yet now he realized that she needed to see her father fight, not just with fists or feet, but with heart. Each bruise, every ache from today's training represented milestones in a journey he was finally ready to embrace. He had to confront the doubts that taunted him, to embody the strength he hoped to pass on to Catherine. The idea made Jake's core tighten with resolve. She would learn not just the art of defending herself, but also how to battle the insecurities that life hurled at her. With that thought burning in his mind, he resolved to create a balance between his professional life as a janitor and a father fighting against the weight of legacy. An unconventional balance that could lead to growth for both him and Catherine. But how would he redefine this path? That was the real dilemma. He couldn't simply turn his rage into determination. It was all about finding the purpose that fed into that determination. Glimmers of inspiration flared as he thought of ways to incorporate martial arts into Catherine's life, making it not just a sport, but a celebration of resilience. He envisioned evenings spent in the dojo, her tiny feet mimicking his every move, not just learning, but embracing a culture of strength and honor. The idea ignited a flame of ambition within him, illuminating a desire to become not only her protector, but also her mentor, a figure she could look up to without the shadows of doubt sullying her admiration. "Tomorrow," he whispered, a vow sealed in his heart. "Tomorrow I'll talk to her about it. I'll ask her if she wants to learn." Yet, the thought of vulnerability loomed large. Would she perceive him as more than a janitor, a man struggling to find his strengths, battling insecurities, and trying to be the father she deserved? Questions circled in his mind. He would have to step outside the protective shell he had crafted around his identity. As he exited the dojo, the haunting darkness of the parking lot juxtaposed the vibrant light he felt bubbling within him. Jake turned around, giving the dojo one last glance. He pictured the challenges that lay ahead, the fights he would engage in not only physically, but emotionally and psychologically. The sense of uncertainty loomed over him, mixed with the undeniable thrill of possibility. How to translate today's triumph into his everyday life? How to step into the role of a mentor when he himself was still learning? Just as he stepped into his car, a shadow loomed at the corner of his eye. Sam, leaning casually against the wall with an amused expression. "You're still here," Jake called out, forcing a confidence he didn't entirely feel. "Just making sure you're ready for the next round," Sam replied, a glint of mischief in his eyes before turning more serious. "But be warned, Jake, the real test comes when you least expect it." Jake inhaled sharply, realizing the weight of Sam's words. He wasn't just preparing for fights in the dojo. He was on the brink of a larger battle with his own insecurities and aspirations. What other surprises awaited him on this journey towards self-discovery? He felt a tightening in his chest. The curiosity of what lay ahead beckoned irresistibly. The journey was just beginning, a battle that would demand more than mere physical strength. It was a metamorphosis waiting to unfold. With newfound excitement coursing through him, Jake understood one thing clearly. This was going to be a fight worth every ounce of his energy, not just for himself, but for Catherine too. What would it mean to embrace that fight beyond the dojo, challenging the very fabric of who he was as a father and individual? As he drove away, determination ignited a fire deep within him, one he was more than ready to stoke. The next morning arrived with a golden sunshine that filtered through the curtain of Jake's modest living room, illuminating the weight of the day ahead. He pulled on his worn-out sneakers, partially conscious of how they seemed to reflect his own journey, tattered yet filled with untapped potential. This was not just another Tuesday. Today, he would step closer to the father he wanted to become. As he prepared breakfast, the scent of bacon curled through the air, mingling with the faint aroma of fresh coffee. Catherine's laughter echoed in the background as she emerged from her room, still wrapped in her sleepiness. Her sleepy, warm smile sent a shockwave of encouragement through him. Here was the embodiment of everything he was aiming for. He needed to fight for her, to model resilience before her innocent eyes. "Dad, can we go to the park today?" she asked, her excitement bubbling over as she munched absently on a piece of toast. Jake hesitated for a moment, the image of the dojo flickering at the back of his mind like a neon sign. "Actually, how about we try something new at the dojo first?" he suggested, his heart racing. Her eyes lit up, igniting a spark within him. "Really? Like a karate class?" "More like a little training together," Jake replied, his voice stronger than he felt. "I want to show you something important." A small knot of anxiety throbbed in his chest, but Jake pushed it aside. He would not succumb to fear today. He wouldn't let her down. After their breakfast retreat, the two of them made their way to the dojo. His legs felt heavier as they approached, each step echoing his own inner trepidation. The dojo loomed ahead like a fortress, ready to unveil the path of transformation that awaited them both inside. Could he really take this step? Could he truly guide Catherine in a discipline that he was still grasping himself? Inside, the air was thick with the familiar blend of discipline and energy. Sam's presence seemed to command the space. The way his stance spoke volumes of his experience. Observing him now, Jake felt the weight of competition surge within him, not against Sam, but against the shadows of self-doubt that trailed behind him.
"Glad to see you, Jake," Sam greeted, his voice playful yet fortified with a hint of seriousness that felt like an anchor. "Is today the day?" "Yeah, I want to get Catherine involved," Jake replied, surprising even himself with the steadiness that crept into his words. "Perfect," Sam acknowledged, motioning them forward. "Let's start with some warm-ups, and I'll show you both the basics, then we can see where it needs to go from there." Jake's heart raced as he watched Catherine mimic the movements, her eyes wide and focused. There was beauty in her determination. She was fearless, a reflection of the fire he was igniting within himself. Each move felt like a revelation, not just for her, but for him. Training together became more than a shared activity. It was an unraveling, a bonding, a simultaneous discovery of strength. As the class progressed, he felt himself opening up, not just to the movements, but to his capacity as a mentor, a protector. He demonstrated techniques for Catherine, illustrating each with care. This was not merely about forms and kicks, it was about instilling assurance and confidence. With every example he set, he saw her willingness to learn, to embrace this new world. In seeing her grow, Jake uncovered an unexpected competency in teaching, a realization of his abilities stretching far beyond those of a janitor. "Good job, both of you," Sam cheered after a drill, his tone shifting to a seriousness that made Jake take notice. "But remember, Jake, it's not just about teaching her moves. The real lesson is how to handle outside challenges." A rush of reality struck Jake. What Sam spoke of was the very battle he himself had fought, the doubt that gnawed at him, and the fear which hovered over his personal journey. This wasn't just a lesson for Catherine. He found himself reflecting on his mental barriers, the walls he constructed around his self-worth. The moment proved pivotal. Jake realized he had a choice. He could continue living in the shadows of his own insecurities, or embody the strength he wanted Catherine to admire. What a metamorphosis it would be to embrace the role of a father not shrouded in shame, but one who pushed through and welcomed vulnerability with open arms. As class progressed, Jake felt a palpable shift within himself. Each kick born of shared struggle, each challenge met with camaraderie solidified his resolve. But doubts loomed in the edges of his consciousness, murmuring thoughts that questioned whether this path was indeed meant for him, whether he truly had the heart of a mentor. Just before the class ended, Sam shot a meaningful look at Jake, as if sensing his internal conflict. "It's time to face what you fear the most," he said, breaking through the haze of Jake's uncertainty. "The time has come to confront what lies ahead. Bring it to the surface." As Jake felt the weight of those words settle in his gut, he realized he
stood at a precipice not just for Catherine, but for himself. What lay beyond this moment could change everything, but was he ready to confront the full depth of his vulnerabilities? The echo of commitment resonated within him, mingling harmoniously with the thrill of possibility. Would he finally be able to strip away the layers of doubt, or would the fears that had long held him captive surge back to define his journey? Jake stood at the edge of the dojo floor, his heart hammering against his chest. Sam's challenge echoed in his mind, the urgency of it both terrifying and exhilarating. Today was the day he would peel back the layers of his self-doubt, not just for himself, but for Catherine, who was now looping intricate movements just out of reach. "Let's see how you handle an opponent, Jake," Sam suggested, breaking into Jake's daydream. "It's vital for both of you to understand how to face an adversary." Jake's stomach twisted. The notion of being on the receiving end of a martial arts spar felt foreign yet compelling. He had watched others fight, moving gracefully, confidently. Could he summon that same energy, that same courage within himself? The thought of letting Catherine see him falter sent ripples of panic through him. "I think he began, but the words fell short. A small part of him wanted to retreat, to withdraw into the familiar embrace of his insecurities like a shield. "Remember, Jake," Sam interjected, sensing the hesitation, "this isn't just a fight, it's a lesson. Embrace the fear, it's part of the journey." Exhaling deeply, Jake pushed back the tide of doubt that threatened to drown him. He nodded, the decision hardening within him like the determination of a warrior embracing a challenge. He caught Catherine's eye. She was watching him, her unspoken encouragement igniting a fire he didn't know he possessed. "All right, let's do it," Jake said, stepping forward onto the training mat with a newfound intensity. As he readied himself, he felt an electric pulse moving through him, persuasive and demanding. The dojo was no longer just a place of obligation. It had transformed into a crucible, heating and reshaping him, forcing him to confront his fears head-on. The initial touches of sparring were light, but each connection felt like a striking revelation. Every time Sam moved to test Jake, it was a reminder of what he was up against, his self-image, his doubts. Jake's muscles responded to Sam's fluidity, yet his mind battled with anxiety. But as the rounds continued, something extraordinary happened. Jake began to understand the rhythm of the spar, the beauty amidst the chaos. Sam's movements became less intimidating, his intent clearer. This was not a battle to crush him, but a partnership in growth. Each time Sam made a feint, Jake adapted and countered. He was training not just his body, but also expanding his mental agility. Catherine watched the entire exchange with keen eyes, her pride evident in her wide smile. And the way she twirled to mimic their movements. In that moment, it became clear to him, this wasn't only about improving in martial arts. This was about crafting his identity as her father, a role that required vulnerability and strength in equal measure. With each successful block or strike, Jake felt himself shedding fragments of his old self, the man who let insecurity govern his decisions. The thrill of each movement sustained him, preventing the clouds of doubt from closing in. His biography was shifting radically, each action on that mat writing new chapters entirely based on resilience. "Good. Keep your stance low, Jake. Remember to breathe," Sam instructed, before pressing harder against him, testing his resolve. Every challenge pushed Jake into uncharted territory, and rather than shrink back, he responded with tenacity that surprised even him. Through the sparring, Jake discovered hidden depths within himself, an unexpected capacity for confrontation, a resilience to withstand pressure, and most importantly, a determination to model these traits to Catherine. But with every rise, there was a shadow lurking, reminding him that this was not the end.
As Sam lowered his guard for a moment and surveyed Jake with a serious expression, Jake felt the looming weight of reality thread through the high spirits of the training. Sam had said it was time to confront his fears, but what were those fears really? What would they ask of him, and were they prepared to be eradicated? As Jake prepared for the next round, he could feel the remnants of his doubts creeping in again, whispering insidious thoughts. "Just take it one step at a time, Jake," he muttered under his breath, focusing on the fight ahead. "Let's go again," he declared, setting his jaw, ready for the next round. But even as he stepped into the fray, he felt the echo of Sam's earlier words reverberate in his mind. The real challenge lay beyond the dojo, and confronting what awaited him out there would demand an even fiercer spirit. Suddenly, the dojo didn't feel like a mere training ground anymore. It was a launching point, a first step into an uncertain world ready to confront him with deeper fears. What would the next challenge entail, and how would he prepare to meet it? As Jake stepped into the next round, adrenaline surged through him, intertwining with a flicker of trepidation. Each strike he made felt like a revelation, yet the specter of self-doubt shadowed his every move. The dojo had transformed from a sanctuary into an arena where his internal struggles were laid bare, the echoes of his limited self-image challenging every thrust and parry. Sam advanced, his focus unwavering. "Think strategically, Jake. Anticipate my moves," he urged, and Jake felt the weight of his mentor's expectations. This was no longer just about physical prowess. It was a mental game that intertwined with his core identity. What did it mean to anticipate? What visions of the future lurked behind those strikes? Remembering Catherine's watchful gaze, Jake squared his shoulders. This was about more than the dojo. It was about being a father capable of confronting challenges head-on. With each movement, he visualized Catherine's smile, the joy in her eyes when she'd witnessed his progress. It became both a shield and a sword, fueling him on and pushing back his doubts. As they resumed sparring, Jake found unexpected clarity. Sam's movements morphed less into intimidation and more into a conversation. Each punch and kick became a piece of the larger dialogue of his development. Jake was no longer merely reacting. He was engaging, countering effectively, and learning to direct his energy instead of letting it dissipate into anxiety. Suddenly, Sam feinted to the left but struck to the right. In that split second, Jake's instinct kicked in. Reacting with a low block, he deflected the momentum that had threatened to crush him. A thrill coursed through him. This was empowerment. Moments like these rewrote the narrative of his life. Sam paused, a flicker of approval flashing across his face. "There you go. You're thinking on your feet now. Keep it up." Jake felt a warm rush of accomplishment, and for the first time during their sessions, he glimpsed a version of himself that he could embrace, confident, agile, present. Would he be able to sustain this momentum? Well done, but this is only the beginning. The real challenge lies ahead, Sam warned, his voice tinged with gravity. The shift in Sam's tone drummed inside Jake's mind. He was dogged by the question, what awaited him outside these dojo walls? Was he truly prepared to face his demons? With every successful block, he realized the sparring was an analogy for life, a dance between fear and courage. But his worries mounted. If he could confront Sam, could he confront his own past? The bitter taste of failure still lingered, like a ghost mocking him. The memories of missed opportunities and the words of self-doubt echoed louder. "Focus, Jake," he whispered, pushing back the tide of uncertainty. And again, as if sensing his inner turmoil, Sam's next challenge loomed larger than the previous ones. For not only did he seek to push the physical limits of Jake, he intended to draw out the deeper fears, remnants of his past decisions. "You're not just fighting me, Jake. You're fighting the man you once were. Now, let's work on your footwork," Sam instructed, moving towards him with renewed fervor. Each pivot and turn felt like a trial. Jake's footwork needed precision. There was no room for hesitation if he hoped to enact true change. He stumbled through a few steps, frustration simmering within him. He wouldn't allow that frustration to dictate him. He had to take charge. As Sam stepped back momentarily, Jake took deep breaths to steady himself. His heart surged with the realization that real courage came from embracing imperfections, not just the victories. Breathe. It's step by step. Don't forget that, he reminded himself, gathered his thoughts, and then launched again. But just when he thought he could grasp his footing, the dojo door swung open unexpectedly, bringing an abrupt wind of uncertainty. It was a figure from his past, a reminder that the journey he began within the dojo had ties to everything he was trying to transcend. Jake's breath caught in his throat. Was he equipped to face this confrontation? The moment felt electric, suspended on the cusp of possibility and dread. He could either break through barriers or retreat into the shadows of his past. With a deep resolve, Jake turned toward the intruder, ready to step into the next challenge. What awaited him in this unexpected encounter, and would he finally confront the darkness that had lingered too long in his life? Jake steadied his breath as he met the gaze of the intruder. The familiar silhouette pressed hard against the doorway, a place he had often feared and longed to escape. It was Bill, an old friend turned adversary, someone whose judgment had once penetrated the protective walls he erected around himself. A rush of conflicting emotions coursed through him: anger, regret, and an overwhelming doubt about what this encounter could mean for his journey of self-discovery. "What are you doing here, Bill?" Jake managed, his voice oscillating between curiosity and guardedness. Bill stepped forward, his expression a mixture of defiance and complicity, as if he had come to challenge Jake in more ways than one. "I heard you were back in town. Thought I'd see how you changed," he replied, eyeing Jake's stance and the way he held himself compared to the last time they'd met. In that instant, Sam took a step back, recognizing the tension in the air. "This isn't a good time, Bill," he warned, but Jake felt unexpectedly anchored. "Let's see if you've grown up at all," Bill shot back, disdain dripping from each word. It was an emotional riptide against Jake's carefully crafted focus. As his heart pounded, Jake felt a surge of familiarity with Bill's critical gaze, a reflection of his own self-doubt. Everything in him wanted to retreat, to fall back into the shadows of his past. But there was another voice now, one shaped by the months of sweat and struggle in the dojo. "No," Jake declared, surprised at his own firmness. Bill smirked, clearly amused. "You think that after all the times you failed, some lessons in a dojo will fix you?" The jab stung, igniting an inner battle. His past failures echoed in his mind, but they no longer defined him. "My failures made me stronger," Jake replied, grounding himself in newfound resolve. Sam interjected, sensing the escalating tension. "You have a choice to make, Jake. This isn't about proving something to him, it's about proving it to yourself." Jake's breath deepened. Here was Sam, a steady force, reminding him of the true essence of the struggle. What if this confrontation wasn't about Bill at all? What if, instead of succumbing to the old patterns, he chose to engage in a way that showcased how far he had come? "Let's do this," Jake said, his voice ringing with purpose. "But not like before. I'll show you that moving forward isn't about violence, it's about growth." Bill raised an eyebrow, seemingly interested. There was a flicker of surprise, perhaps respect, at Jake's assertion. As he took a step toward the mat, Jake felt an electric surge, merging trepidation and excitement. In the midst of his sparring with Sam, he recalled those painful moments in his life, lost opportunities, and words that hung like swords over his head. Now he needed to transcend that, the emotional grip of Bill's ridicule. As they faced off, Jake prepared his mind like a martial artist sharpening his blade, thinking strategically, free from the weight of his past. He conjured up the lessons learned in each session, his footwork now steady, his energy channeled into a dance of intention. "Watch closely," he murmured to himself, drawing a bead on Bill as they circled each other. Would the encounter serve as closure, or merely ignite unresolved fragments of their shared history? Jake felt the answers depend on his next choice. The air thickened with anticipation, inviting Jake to confront not just Bill, but the specters of who he had been. In this moment, he realized he could redefine himself through understanding and action. Around him, the dojo echoed with Sam's previous advice. To fight was one thing, to confront with purpose was another entirely. As Jake prepared to move, the next step rippled with unexpected significance. With each breath, he chose to embrace the unknown, knowing that real transformation awaited him. What unexpected realizations would arise from this confrontation? And could Jake finally obliterate the shadows haunting him for too long? Jake sensed the gravity of the moment as he faced Bill, the familiar energy of rivalry thick in the air. It beckoned him back to his past, a past he had spent months trying to escape. Yet, standing there, he felt more than a mere spark of determination. He experienced a true shift within himself. This encounter was not just about confronting Bill. It was about confronting his own narrative. Every muscle in his body felt attuned to the impending clash. He steadied his breathing, channeling the lessons he'd learned in the dojo: patience, control, and focus. Bill's earlier words echoed in his mind, a relentless reminder of his failures. But instead of crumbling under those reminders, Jake latched onto them, seeing each one as a step in his journey rather than a chain binding him to the past. "Remember," he whispered to himself, "it's about growth, not proof." He watched as Bill circled him, all bluster and bravado. Yet Jake recognized the fear lurking just below that bravado, fear of being overshadowed, of being seen as less than what he claimed to be. As they began to spar, Jake let instinct guide his movements, a combination of reflexes and newfound understanding. Each kick and block felt not only like a physical exchange, but also a psychological one. When Bill landed a hit, a quick jab to Jake's side, he felt the brief sting but countered with a decisive spin, executing a low sweep that sent Bill off balance. Rather than celebrating the small victory, Jake took a step back, aware that each movement was a reflection of his internal state. Bill regained his footing fast, irritation flashing across his face. "Is that all? You've definitely learned some new tricks." His tone was taunting, yet Jake sensed a thread of nervousness woven through it. "It's not about tricks, Bill, it's about understanding," Jake replied, his voice steady. He'd learned that facing one's adversary was as much an exercise in self-awareness as it was in physical prowess. Every esquive he made was an act of defiance against the judgments of his past. The fight transformed, no longer a battle against Bill, but a confrontation against self-doubt. He recalled standing at the shadowy edge of the dojo months prior, paralyzed by fear of failure. Now, every throw and every lock felt liberating. It was more than a fight, it was a dance of self-acceptance and revelation. Their sparring continued, a rhythm established between two former friends, now adversaries. But something remarkable happened. With each exchange, Jake gleaned insights about himself. He recognized the steadiness of his resolve, the strength that came not from bluster, but from his ongoing progress. The battle he fought was, in essence, a reaffirmation of his identity. Then, Bill's strategy shifted, perhaps sensing Jake's growing confidence. He came at Jake with more aggression, but instead of feeling panic, Jake maintained his calm. He had learned when to deflect and when to engage. As he maneuvered away from a quick strike, his footwork fluid and seamless, he felt a sense of empowerment surge through him. He could not control Bill's reactions, but he could control his own. Just as he anticipated Bill's next move, Jake executed a tactical pivot, closing the distance and throwing a controlled yet powerful striking motion. "This isn't a fight for dominance," he said mid-motion. "It's a journey toward ourselves." Bill stumbled back, a flash of surprise crossing his features. There was a profound sense of clarity that descended over Jake. He understood that self-worth sprung not from the validation of others, but from within. Yet, just as Jake felt the triumph of self-realization, he caught the flash of something darker in Bill's gaze, a flicker of something personal, raw, and unresolved. What lay beneath their confrontation? Uncertainty tightened in Jake's chest. In that moment, the scales tipped once more. They were both grappling with more than just physical strikes. What secrets would be unveiled as they pushed each other to their limits? Would they emerge as rivals, enemies, or possibly even allies in their own struggles for redemption? As the fight continued, Jake knew one thing was certain. The confrontation was far from over. Each movement on the mat hinted at deeper truths. What hidden narratives would unravel in the next exchange? And could their resolution lead to a reconciliation neither had anticipated? As the sparring intensified, a palpable tension filled the air, charging the very atmosphere that encased Jake and Bill. The intensity of the fight threatened to suffocate as each exchanged blow carried layers of unspoken words and unresolved feelings. The surface rivalry transformed into something deeper, a confrontation not solely about technique, but an arena where fears and insecurities clashed. Jake's initial confidence began to waver as he absorbed another sharp jab from Bill. It jolted him, a reminder of vulnerability lurking beneath his newfound fortitude. The sting shot through him, but instead of retreating, he estimated the situation with a clarity he'd been cultivating in recent weeks. Jake realized the echo of that jab wasn't just physical pain, it was a reflection of his deeper struggles. How often had he allowed himself to be wounded by words, judgments, or even his self-doubt? He took a breath, this time allowing the pain to fuel his resolve rather than hinder it. Noticing Bill's frenzied movements, frenetic yet desperate, Jake grasped the undercurrents of insecurity in his rival. Their eyes connected. In that moment, the world around them blurred, transforming the dojo into a battlefield of torn narratives competing for dominance. "Why do you fight me like this, Bill?" Jake called out. A strange echo of curiosity layered in his voice. "Is it just about winning, or is it something more?" Bill stumbled mid-move, hesitating, as if Jake's words had pierced through the fog of bravado that clouded his judgment. The words were less an aggression, more an inquiry, a mirror held up to Bill's motivations. "Shut up, Jake. This is all I have left," Bill snapped back, the soul behind the bravado cracking through, revealing the inadequacy that fueled their rivalry. The initial adrenaline surge had begun to settle, replaced by an awareness that seeped into Jake's every muscle. He took a step back, weighing his response. Did he want to further antagonize Bill, or delve deeper into the psychological roots of their animosity? Then let's redefine what's left, not just for us, but for both of us. Fight doesn't have to mean destruction, Jake pressed gently. We can accept our flaws instead of letting them dictate who we are. Jake's voice hung in the arena between them, resonating off the walls, urging a reevaluation of the collision they were entangled in. Their confrontation took on an air of vulnerability, each strike and rebound carrying newfound meaning. Jake felt himself transitioning from merely sparring with Bill to an exploration of the identities they had awkwardly constructed around each other. Bill's stance softened, the tension in his fists slackening. For a moment, they stood not as adversaries, but two men grappling with their legacies. Jake could almost see the remnants of a friendship that once thrived before the bitter rivalry consumed them both. Perhaps Bill had always feared being overshadowed, but was Jake even capable of overshadowing someone who stood as a mirror to his own insecurities? As the sparring resumed, the energy was different. Each move slowed, but it was deliberate. Their motions carried the weight of revelation and introspection rather than hostility. There was a new rhythm, as if they were choreographing an intricate dance of acknowledgement rather than a clash of egos. With clarity, Jake executed a series of flowing movements that mirrored his internal state. He was no longer merely trying to outmaneuver Bill. He was extending a challenge toward both of them to emerge from this cycle of rivalry stronger. He sought not victory, but reconciliation. Then suddenly, sensing an opening, Bill hit back, feigning low before driving in with a spinning kick. Having read that maneuver during their exchanges, Jake dodged aside, but not in time. Not just to evade a physical strike, but to also sidestep the unyielding grasp of their past. As Jake twisted fluidly, he understood that neither would emerge from this fight unscathed. They would carry their scars as symbols of a hard-fought journey. But was this fight truly the turning point he hoped for? As the last echoes of motion settled, Jake realized he had stepped into the battle yearning for more than just a resolution. It was about understanding those unprocessed complexities of both their lives. In that instant, as they caught their breath, the real question lingered heavy and unspoken. Not just about what this fight meant for the two of them, but how far they were willing to go, not just on the mat, but in life. Just as they both lowered their guards, the real challenge blinked before them, and Jake knew they had yet to face the deepest fight that lay ahead, the struggle for forgiveness. How would they navigate the path of exposing their buried truths for one last confrontation, one that could transform their rivalry into something entirely different? As the moments passed, a contemplative silence enveloped the dojo. Jake faced Bill with the intensity of their fight still sparking between them. The psychological weight of their sparring left no room for idle banter or false bravado. They were no longer merely combatants. Their shared struggle beckoned the possibility for something more profound: understanding, vulnerability, and perhaps even reconciliation. Before Jake could initiate the discussion, Bill broke the silence. "What makes you think this will change anything?" There was a hint of bitterness in his tone, but behind it lay a vulnerability that Jake had rarely seen. "Because," Jake began, grounding himself in the feelings stirring deep within, "we've both been running from our pasts, from who we've become through our choices. This isn't just a fight anymore, it's a chance for us to confront that together." Bill raised an eyebrow, skepticism coloring his expression. But in that moment, Jake recognized something transformative unfolding between them, a willingness to engage in a dialogue beyond the confines of their brawl. "You don't get it," Bill pushed back, frustration lacing his words. "You've lived your life trying to measure up to a legacy. I'm stuck trying to figure out what's left for me." Jake nodded, the weight of Bill's words resonating. He understood the burden of trying to fulfill expectations, both his own and those thrust upon him by others. "You're right, Bill. I've spent so long trying to escape the shadow of my father, but running hasn't brought me any peace." Bill shifted slightly, his defenses softening. "And I've just been trying to keep my head above water, hiding from the fear of failure. All I have is a broken past." "Then let's not let that define us," Jake urged, his voice steady. "What if this is our opportunity to break free? We can redefine our legacies together." With that, a silence reclaimed the space. It was no longer suffocating, but ripe with possibility. For the first time, they both stood not as adversaries, but as men seeking to reconcile with their histories. "Maybe this isn't just about fighting," Bill said cautiously. "Maybe it's about letting go." Jake felt the flicker of hope ignite within him. "Exactly. What if we both committed to moving forward together? Strength doesn't have to be showcased solely through combat. It can be about lifting each other up." The connection deepened as they continued to share their vulnerabilities, reflecting on the lessons learned in the dojo. The fight transformed into a dialogue of personal growth. Each admission carved deeper clarity, illuminating their unspoken struggles and their desires for fulfillment. "Look, I know I haven't been the best friend to you," Bill admitted, his voice tinged with sincerity. "But I'm tired of this rivalry. I want something more for us both." Jake felt the weight of this revelation settle over them like a mantle. "So then let's make a pact. We'll support each other, challenge ourselves to grow, not just in martial arts, but as individuals. Bill mulled over the suggestion for a moment, and then extended a hand. All right, let's commit to it, together. They shook hands, the grip firm yet honest, an acknowledgement of what lay ahead. Jake felt a burgeoning transformation across his chest. The burdens he had carried slowly began to lift, no longer bound by twisted rivalry, but kindling a connection founded on mutual respect and growth. "I will not let you down," Jake vowed, the echo of his words a promise not only to Bill, but also to himself and Catherine. As their eyes locked, it was as if a silent understanding passed between them, the dawning of a new journey, rich with potential. With renewed focus, Jake turned back to the dojo mat and smiled, envisioning Catherine. "Let's not only transform ourselves, let's extend this to our families. They deserve to see us thrive." As they engaged in light sparring, punctuated by laughter, the nagging remnants of doubt that had once plagued them began to unravel. Each exchange steered them toward understanding, toward a dynamic rooted in collaboration instead of hostility. Eventually, laughter replaced the seriousness of martial arts.
Conflict. Through this metamorphosis, Jake unearthed a profound realization. Not only had he contributed to his own personal evolution, but he had also forged an alliance that could foster change in someone else's life. The struggle with identity and legacy would soften through teamwork, guiding both men toward empowerment and fulfillment. Finally, as the hour came to an end, they exchanged glances filled with hope. In that moment, Jake realized he had conquered more than just a rival. He had transformed the narrative of his life. He was moving steadily into a promise of self-acceptance, ready to embrace responsibilities as an invigorated father and breaking the cycle of generational burdens. Only moments later, with a resolved heart, Jake decided he would share these learnings and envisioned sharing that story with Catherine. With newfound purpose, he knew he wouldn't just fight for himself. He would champion a legacy of resilience and strength for his daughter, a legacy not defined by fear, but by love. And at that pivotal instant, Jake stepped forward once more, ready to seize each opportunity life presented as a transformed man, a father forging a new path. Now, it's your turn, dear viewer. Don't forget to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.